History is often written by the victors, but the deepest lessons are found in the silence of the vanquished. We are taught to believe that talent is the ultimate currency of success. We are told that if you are the smartest person in the room, if you are the most capable strategist, if you bring the most value, the world will reward you. We are told that meritocracy is absolute. This is a lie. In fact, history whispers a darker truth. Extreme talent is often a death sentence. There is a threshold of competence where you stop being an asset to your superiors and start becoming a threat. When you cross that line, your very existence becomes a problem that no amount of loyalty can solve. No one illustrates this brutal paradox better than Han Xin, the god of war who defined the Han dynasty. He was a man who never lost a battle on the field, yet he lost the most important war of all, the war for his own survival. His life serves as a terrifying case study in the difference between intelligence and wisdom, between winning a game and understanding the rules of the table.
Han Xin was not merely a general. He was an anomaly. He possessed a mind that could visualize the chaos of war as a coherent mathematical equation. He could turn raw recruits into disciplined killers and transform hopeless terrain into a death trap for his enemies. He gave the first Han Emperor Liu Bang the keys to the empire. He handed him the world on a silver platter.
And what was his reward? He was not allowed to die on the battlefield with honor. He was not granted a peaceful retirement. He was lured into a room by the empress, bound, and executed like a common criminal. When the cunning hares are dead, the good dog is boiled. When the soaring birds are gone, the good bow is cast aside. These were his final words. They are not just a lament of betrayal. They are a fundamental law of power. In this video, we will dissect the tragedy of Han Xin, not as a dusty page of Chinese history, but as a mirror for the modern ambitious soul. We will examine why high performers are often the first to be purged in corporate structures. We will look at the fatal flaw of relying solely on technical competence while ignoring political reality. We will ask the uncomfortable question: in your own climb to the top, are you building a throne or are you digging a grave? To understand his end, we must first understand his beginning. Because long before he commanded armies of thousands, Han Xin won his greatest victory by crawling on his knees in the dirt. Imagine for a moment that you possess a weapon of unimaginable power. You know with absolute certainty that you can destroy anyone who stands in your way. Now imagine a fool challenges you to a fight. He insults you. He spits on you. He demands that you either draw your sword and kill him or crawl between his legs like a dog. What do? The modern ego screams for action. To refuse the challenge is to be branded a coward. In our culture of instant reaction, where every slight on social media demands a response, where masculinity is often performed rather than possessed, we are conditioned to fight. We confuse reaction with strength. Han Xin chose the other path. And this moment, known as the humiliation of the crotch, is perhaps the greatest demonstration of stoic discipline in Eastern history. Han Xin was a young man of noble lineage but destitute poverty. He wandered the streets with a sword at his hip, a symbol of a status he no longer had. A local butcher, a man of low intelligence and high aggression, saw this incongruity. He blocked Han Xin's path in the crowded market. "You carry a sword," the butcher sneered. "If you have the courage, stab me. If not, crawl through my legs." The crowd gathered. They waited for blood. Han Xin looked at the butcher. He looked at the man's neck. He calculated the trajectory of his blade. He knew physically he could end the man's life in a heartbeat. But Han Xin was playing a different game. He ran a cost-benefit analysis that happened in a fraction of a second. If he killed the butcher, what would happen? He would be a murderer. He would be hunted by the law. He would live his life on the run, hiding in caves, his grand destiny extinguished for the momentary satisfaction of silencing a fool. The cost of his pride was his future. On the other hand, if he crawled, he would be mocked. He would be called a coward. His reputation in that small, insignificant town would be destroyed. But he would be alive. He would be free. His potential would remain intact. So Han Xin lowered his body. He placed his hands in the dirt, and he crawled. The crowd erupted in laughter. They saw a broken man, but they were blind. They did not see that by crawling, Han Xin had just defeated his greatest enemy, his own ego. This is the essence of true ambition. Nietzsche called it master morality, the ability to create your own values independent of the herd. Han Xin did not care what the butcher thought. He did not care what the crowd thought. He only cared about the mathematical probability of achieving his destiny. He treated his pride as a variable that could be sacrificed for a larger equation. In the modern world, we are constantly baited by butchers. The colleague who steals your credit, the internet troll who attacks your character, the minor injustices of daily traffic and bureaucracy. Every time you react emotionally, every time you let your ego dictate your actions, you are killing the butcher. You are trading your long-term peace and focus for a cheap, momentary victory. Han Xin teaches us a terrifying discipline. You must be willing to be thought a fool by everyone around you if that is what it takes to protect the vision inside you. You must be willing to crawl through the mud to reach the throne. But endurance is only the first step. To rise, one must find a master worthy of one's talent. And this search would lead Han Xin to the darkest nights of his soul. There is a pain sharper than the butcher's knife and colder than the winter wind. It is the pain of wasted potential. Han Xin had endured humiliation. He had preserved his life. But for what? He first joined the warlord Shang Yu. He offered grand strategies, but he was dismissed as a mere bodyguard. He was a dragon, forced to act as a watchdog. So he defected to the weaker side, to Liu Bang. He thought a new leader would see his value, but history repeated itself. He was given a low-ranking job managing grain supplies. The smartest man in the empire was being used as a glorified accountant. Depression is often just anger without enthusiasm, and Han Xin was tired. One night, under the pale light of the moon, he packed his meager belongings. He looked at the sleeping camp of the Han army, spit on the ground, and rode away. He chose the uncertainty of the wilderness over the certainty of mediocrity. He would rather die unknown in the forest than live as a servant to blind masters. But there was one man who was watching, Xiao He, the prime minister. He was the only one who had glimpsed the terrifying genius behind Han Xin's stoic face. When he heard Han Xin had fled, Xiao He didn't wait for permission. He didn't put on his armor. He jumped on his horse and rode into the night. Historical records tell us it was a race against destiny. If Xiao He had been 1 hour late, the Han dynasty would never have existed. The course of 400 years of history hung on the hooves of a single horse galloping under the moonlight.
When Xiao He finally caught him by the river, breathless and desperate, he asked, "Why leave?" Han Xin's answer is a masterclass in self-worth. He did not ask for more money. He did not ask for better food. He said, "I am not a common soldier. If I cannot be the generalissimo, commanding all the armies, then I will be nothing." It was all or nothing. Han Xin understood a crucial rule. You do not negotiate your value. You demonstrate it or you walk away.
How many of you feel like Han Xin today? You sit in cubicles, burying your talents in spreadsheets and emails, working for managers who cannot see past your job title. You are lions led by sheep. The lesson here is dual. For the leaders, the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore the quiet genius in your team. They will not argue. They will simply leave, and they will build an empire for your competitor. For the talent, like Han Xin, you must have the courage to walk away from a table where respect is no longer served. Han Xin got his wish. He was made generalissimo. Now he had to prove he wasn't insane. The Battle of Jingxing. The scenario was a nightmare. Han Xin commanded 30,000 tired, ill-equipped soldiers. Facing them was the Zhao army, 200,000 strong, resting in a fortified position. By all conventional military logic, this was suicide. Any standard manual of war would tell you to retreat. But Han Xin didn't read manuals. He wrote them.
He ordered his troops to do the unthinkable. He positioned them with their backs against a raging river. In military strategy, this is called position of death. If you lose, you have nowhere to run. You will either be slaughtered by the enemy or drowned in the water. The Zhao generals looked down from their fortress and laughed. They laughed at this boy general who made such a rookie mistake. They thought they had already won.
But the laughter died quickly. When the battle began, the Han soldiers were pushed back. They looked behind them. They saw the river. They saw death. And something primal happened in their brains. When a human being realizes there is absolutely no escape, fear transforms into a cold, murderous focus. The survival instinct takes over. Sun Tzu wrote, "Throw them into a position from which there is no escape, and they will prefer death to flight." The 30,000 Han soldiers fought like demons. One man fought with the strength of 10. They weren't fighting for victory, they were fighting for their next breath. Meanwhile, Han Xin had sent a small detachment to sneak behind the enemy castle and switch the flags. When the Zhao army looked back and saw their base covered in Han flags, panic set in. Chaos ensued. The 200,000-strong army collapsed under the weight of their own fear. Han Xin didn't just win, he annihilated them. This battle reveals a profound truth about human nature. Safety is the enemy of greatness. We live in a world of safety nets. We have the backup plan, the savings account, the safe job. And because we have a way out, we never fight with our full potential. We are mediocre because we are comfortable. Han Xin asks you a terrifying question. If you cut off your retreat, if you burned your boats, if you had to succeed or drown, who would you become? The war was won, the empire was established, and suddenly the rules of the game changed. On the battlefield, competence is king. The man who can kill the enemy is the most valuable asset. But in peace, competence becomes a threat. Han Xin, the genius of war, was a naive child in the court of politics. He believed that his immense contribution would guarantee his safety. He thought merit was a shield. He was wrong. The cracking point came when Emperor Liu Bang was surrounded, desperate for help. He sent for Han Xin. Instead of sending troops immediately, Han Xin sent a letter. He requested to be named acting king of a territory as a condition to mobilize.
To Han Xin, this was a pragmatic request for authority. To the emperor, it was blackmail. Liu Bang granted the title, smiling on the outside, but inside he had already signed Han Xin's death warrant. Trust was broken. From that moment, Han Xin was no longer a general. He was a rival. Here lies the fatal flaw of the technical genius. Han Xin violated the first law of power: never outshine the master. He made himself indispensable, yes, but he also made the emperor feel insecure. He shone so brightly that he cast a shadow over the man who held the crown. In the corporate world, we see this every day. The star employee who corrects the boss in public, the top seller who acts like they own the company. They are always shocked when they are fired. They scream unfair. But power is not about fairness. It is about control.
Once the enemy armies were defeated, Liu Bang moved quickly. He didn't kill Han Xin immediately. That would cause a revolt. Instead, he used the strategy of removing the firewood from under the pot. He took away Han Xin's armies. He demoted him from king to marquis. He isolated him in the capital. The tiger was stripped of its claws, tooth by tooth, until it was just a harmless cat in a golden cage.
The end did not come with a sword in hand. It came in a dark room within the palace. Empress Lu, the emperor's wife, a woman far more ruthless than her husband, summoned Han Xin. She feared his potential. She knew that as long as he breathed, the dynasty was at risk. He entered the chime room. The heavy doors closed behind him. There were no windows, no weapons, only executioners hiding in the shadows. Legend says she ordered him to be suspended in a bell so he could touch neither heaven nor earth. Bamboo spears were thrust through the gaps. The god of war died alone, betrayed by the very people he had elevated to the throne. His blood stained the palace floor, a grim reminder that gratitude is a burden, and power seeks only to perpetuate itself. What is the lesson of Han Xin? It is that talent is not enough. To survive in this world, you need two swords. One is competence, to conquer the external world. The other is wisdom, to navigate the internal world of human nature. Han Xin had the sharpest sword in the world, but he lacked the shield of humility. He conquered the world for others, but forgot to secure a place for himself. As we close the book on this tragic hero, ask yourself this question. In the battlefield of your own career and life, are you winning the battles but losing the war? Are you so focused on proving you are right that you are forgetting to be safe? Sometimes the greatest victory isn't conquering the enemy. It's knowing when to hide your sword.